All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Take Three podcast back with you. This is going to be episode 2. We had our first episode, the inaugural one, last Wednesday during the round 2, as we've definitely evolved with more sports news. I'm Brandon, joined by my buddy after a long day of work, Alex.
What's up, man? Happy to be here. We had an exciting weekend of basketball. A lot of things happened. There's a lot of teams that futures look a little uncertain, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that went down. I'll save the other words. There could be a lot of words used, but a lot of things went down. Obviously, we watched some crazy things occur in a Jazz Clippers series, and then definitely I think the shocker of everybody was definitely what went down with the Hawks and the Sixers, and then obviously the Bucks kind of did their little thing. Game 7 showed a little bit of resiliency for once, which was cool. But I mean, the freshest topic on the hand here and on the docket, I would say, since the Eastern Conference Final has not tipped off yet, it's definitely the Philadelphia 76ers completely unraveling. Not only in Game 7, I mean, they never really had control in Game 7 as they got ousted on the home floor. We saw bottles come down onto the court. I mean, I don't condone any of that as a Philly fan. I have to hear about that as a Philadelphia sports fan. But um, I guess just what did you see? What was the temperature in the room as you watched the Sixers finally get sunken by the iceberg that was the Atlanta Hawks? Kudos to them guys for being a gritty team.
Yeah, first off, before we jump in on the Sixers, let's give the Hawks credit. They played well. Good, young, gritty team, and they fought their way further than anybody thought. So congrats to them. But the bigger picture with the Sixers, it felt like just a total collapse. I mean, if you go back to Game 5, I believe they had like a 16-point lead that was blown, and then you go into Game 6, and it was like a 20-plus point lead blown, and then like you said, Game 7, they never felt like they had control. It felt like they got defeated mentally, honestly, more than anything, because it's like when the Sixers really like turned it on and started playing well, you kind of felt like they were going to run away with it for Game 5 and Game 6. You're watching it and you're going, all right, the Sixers are just a more talented, much better basketball team. And you thought they were going to run away with it. And then here comes the Hawks both times. And it just felt like the Hawks were just mentally tougher and weren't willing to give up. And it felt like every single game, the last 3 at the end, it felt like the Sixers were defeated mentally. Like they just given up and were like, all right, here you go, Trey. Here you go, Hawks. Just take it from us because we don't want it.
Yeah, I mean, what I saw was it felt like the Atlanta Hawks, they wanted it more. Even from, I mean, you could go back, obviously, Game 1, they shot the lights out, but it was at every point in this series, it seemed like when the Sixers landed a haymaker, and it's the one that's supposed to knock the Hawks out, it's finally the knockout punch. The Hawks just kept answering the bell. It would be an 8 count, and they would get up. And, I mean, Game 5, they were down, I think it was 18, and they just fired back at all cylinders. The Sixers kind of, I guess, expected them to roll over and just say, all right, we're done. I mean, we're a young team. We had a good run, but we're outmatched. But the Hawks, they never showed they were outmatched. They came back, obviously battled back, get the Game 5 win, and then Game 6, or no, what was it? It was Game 4. Game 4, Game 5. That was the 2 bad blown leads. Yeah, so Game 4 was the 18 point. So Game 5, yeah, we went back to Philly, and that's the one where I'm jumping up and down. The series, like, it's a wrap. It's done. The Hawks are done. And then once again, I mean, they're down 26 points. You feel like the knockout punch is there, and then the Sixers hit I guess it's the coast button, where they just thought all we got to do is play 12 minutes. We don't have to do anything. Just play 12 minutes, and we'll get out here with a win. These guys, they don't want to battle anymore. And what do the Hawks do? The Hawks show, hey, we're not done. We're going to fire out, run our offense. And it seemed like the Sixers, when the Hawks came back firing, the Sixers, they were out of all sorts. Doc Rivers, he was out of options. I mean, Doc Rivers looked clueless sitting on the bench. The guy didn't have a clue of what to do. And it's crazy. Like, I don't know. He's definitely, I think, he's a very overrated coach in my eyes through his history. A lot of people hype up Doc Rivers, but I've definitely seen now, as Doc Rivers is my team's coach, the guy that I laughed at Doc Rivers as he choked away games with the Clippers. Then he comes in and does what my team. But it felt like the Hawks wanted it more. And then, yeah, when it came down to, I mean, even Game 6, the Sixers, they kind of battled. It seemed just like the Hawks, I don't know, they just couldn't get shots to fall down the stretch. But then game 7, yeah, I mean, I said earlier today, those game 7s, when the home team doesn't come out and just absolutely throat punch the visiting team, which I mean, I think everybody expected. I mean, if you looked at the lines, the Sixers were a 7.5 point favorite. I think is the money line. It was like minus 305. I think it closed at like 285, but that's saying the Sixers aren't losing at home, right? They didn't win game 6 to go home to game 7 and lose them. They just, I don't know, Trey was not good, right? Trey was bad. It was a bad Trey Young game. If you look at the Trey Young stat line and never look at the final score, you probably assume they lose. Like, it's just that simple. But the Sixers never wanted it. I mean, the half, I missed the first half, but it was 48-46 at half. And it just, the Sixers, when I watched, they were just lackadaisical, didn't want it. And eventually the Hawks put them out of their misery. You know what I mean? They got what they wanted. It didn't look like the Sixers wanted to be there. And as you said, it's kudos to the Hawks for being the better team and showing resiliency in a series like that.
Oh yeah, and Doc Rivers, he seemed lost. He had a 10-man, I believe it was a 10-man rotation in Game 7. It's Game 7 in the semifinals. You're the one seed. You're at home, and you're running 10-man rotation. Steve Nash with the Nets, which we'll get to and we'll talk about their Game 7. I believe like it was like a 7-man rotation. Jeff Green, who was a monster in Game 5, played like 7 minutes, and then you have Doc Rivers for the Sixers running 10-man deep, just not making any adjustments and they got a bad Trey Young game. Trey Young was getting his floater and good jump shots, but they just weren't landing. He just couldn't get it. He made it when it mattered, but most of the game he couldn't get it going. And yeah, the Hawks got whatever they want. Danilo Gallinari and Kevin Herter, they're getting guarded by guys like Seth Curry and George Hill. They're just shooting over them. Like there's no adjustments to be made. And like I need more from Tobias Harris throughout the series. Like him and Ben Simmons. It's like I mean Embiid averages like 30 and 13 with a couple blocks. Like Embiid's doing what he does, but like you just need more from the supporting cast. And yeah, you were right. It was game 4 and 5 that they blew the lead. And one of those games, you got 37 points from Seth Curry. If you get 37 points from Seth Curry, like how do you lose that game? Like that's inexcusable. And like with Doc Rivers, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know how to defend him. Like you've seen blown leads, whether it's the Clippers, all the way back to the Orlando Magic with T Mac, and it's like there's just so many opportunities, and he does get his team ready to play, and it's like it's not his fault. Ben Simmons is out there passing up layups and missing free throws, but at the same time, when there's like this long of a track record and history of blowing these closeout games and these big games, it's kind of hard. I mean, I doubt like the relationship with Ben Simmons and the Sixers is rough, and I doubt that they can repair it and Ben Simmons is around in the future. But like, what about the relationship with Doc? Like, I know it's only been one season, but he came in with a 1 seed, clearly a better team, and he didn't have them ready to go to lock it down. They lost again, so it's like, does Doc Rivers come back? Do you run him back? Like, what do the Sixers do next?
I mean, yeah, I think you could ask Doc Rivers that. Doc Rivers doesn't have a clue what he's doing. I mean, he doesn't have a clue. Ben Simmons didn't seem remotely interested, even being there. I mean, the guy, I don't know. We're now in it's going to be year 6. Like, this was year 5, and he's arguably either regressed or he's the same. I guess you could say he regressed because, I mean, at the beginning of his career, I don't remember him not being able to shoot free throws like this. This was the free throw shooting was a disaster. It's like he goes to the free throw line, you just close your eyes. I guess pray that one of two. It's like never been happy with one of two free throws going down, but he had times he couldn't even hit one of two. I mean, the guy shot, I think it was 33%. The guy shot free throws worse than Shaq at Shaq's worst, and it's like
And it's a much bigger deal for Ben Simmons compared to Shaq because Shaq was a big man playing center. He got the ball in the post, low, shooting layups. Ben is their point guard. He's got the ball in his hands. You need your point guard to be able to make those clutch shots and free throws down the stretch. And if you can't even trust supposedly your second best player on the team, like you can't even have him really on the court because they'll just hack him, or he's too scared to even take layups. Like it's just he unraveled. Like everything has fallen apart.
Yeah, I think his confidence is pretty much gone, I would say. I mean, he's a point guard that doesn't attack. He has I don't know, no urgency. He doesn't really have a voice on the court either. There's not a time where you think, Ben Simmons is in control of this thing. He doesn't bark out orders. You watch Draymond Green with Golden State, who kind of runs that similar role. I mean, he shoots more shots, but he runs that similar role where he has a voice and commands the offense, and even on defense is commanding guys on defense. And Ben Simmons is kind of just a guy that somebody else takes the ball, and Ben Simmons goes and stands and prays that a missed shot happens so he can maybe get a rebound or do a putback dunk. But it's a max player, right? You can't have a max player that you can't even have out there. He was on the bench in crunch time. I don't know if you can deal with that. So the Sixers, I don't know. But back to the Doc Rivers thing. Honestly, I would not be mad if, I don't think it'll happen personally. I don't think it will, but I wouldn't be mad if they cut Doc Rivers loose. I think there's no explanation for this, right? There's really none. You're the one seed, as we've said before, a very easy road. You played the Wizards, a Hawks team who's young, but young with an interim coach. It's Doc Rivers should be able. If Doc Rivers is this Hall of Fame coach, he should have his guy. He should have a clue out there. He was lost. This was arguably he did what Brett Brown did, right? We watched Brett Brown get outcoached and whooped by Brad Stevens and these other coaches when it came to playoff time, and everybody got mad at Brett Brown and was Brett Brown's the problem. Brett Brown's the problem. Well, now you got a Hall of Fame coach, and the same exact thing just happened, and he looked just as lost as Brett Brown did on the bench. So I wouldn't be mad if Doc Rivers got fired. I doubt it happens. I'd say maybe a 5% chance, very very slim. I think inevitably they'll find a deal for Ben Simmons. I don't like seeing the stuff where today, obviously Doc Rivers said that the Sixers have a plan for Ben Simmons to work on his shooting. And I swear I've heard this every offseason there's a plan for Ben Simmons. He's going to work
I
on
don't like that either.
Yeah, I've heard that for like the past 3 years as a Sixers fan is Ben Simmons. Yeah, he's going to work on the shooting. He's going to get more aggressive. He's going to do this and he's going to do that. And we never see it. The season comes around and it's, oh, wait, this is the same Ben Simmons we saw. Like, I don't need to see left-handed, right-handed. I don't care if don't need to see him shoot with two hands, no hands. I think he's got to go. I think they got to find something, even if you can get some good role guys to throw around Maxey, and then you bring back a Danny Green, and you we got to use our exceptions better as well. When you look at the Sixers, they didn't really allocate their mid-level exceptions, the biannual exceptions. We have an $8 million trade exception for Al Horford. They've got to get creative, but I would move on from Ben Simmons for sure. I would Portland if you could float him and pull a CJ. I don't think Dame's on the table.
Dame is probably not on the table. CJ might be on the table, but the Ben Simmons thing is just it's such an enigma of like his confidence disappearing, because he averaged 14 points throughout the regular season. He used to, like you said, he used to be able to shoot free throws. Like, it seems like not only has he not gotten better, he has regressed. And to the Doc Rivers point, real quick, I don't think he's going to be fired either, but it's just not a good look, especially when last time we saw him, he blew the 3-1 lead with the Clippers. And then the same weekend that we saw him lose Game 7, we saw the Clippers advance to the conference finals for the first time. So it's not a good look on Doc, because that's pretty much the same roster that Ty Lue has, and they did it without Kawhi. So not a good look for Doc. But the trading of Ben Simmons, like, yeah, CJ's the popular choice out there, and Joel Embiid, if he runs with a guard that can shoot, I think would be so deadly. Like Shaq got Kobe, and then D Wade, and then like Tim Duncan had Tony and Monty. When you give a big like guards that are clutch and can shoot, that's a big deal. CJ certainly can shoot the ball and is definitely shown he's not scared of the moment. But like if you're the Blazers or a different team, do you want to take a chance on Ben Simmons? Ben Simmons at the end of the day, like, without the recency bias of his terrible performance, he's 24 years old. He's a 3-time All-Star. He's a steal champ. He was a 2-time All-Defensive NBA already. Like, the dude's very, very good at basketball. So it's like weird to see his like trade value plummet so fast and see other teams around the league. Maybe it's like, I'm trying to figure out if like, does Portland even want to do that trade? Like, that's a popular one, but like, do teams even want to take Ben Simmons? He's an interesting project. He clearly has a ton of talent, and like he's fixable. I don't think he's fixable in Philadelphia. I don't think that's going to happen, but he's fixable. He could definitely go somewhere else and be a very good player for somebody.
Yeah, I think if you're another team, you look at similar to how the Orlando Magic, obviously not skill level, but when they took on Markelle Fultz, you kind of look at, hey, we can take this guy in our program. These guys, the Sixers program isn't developing, but we trust our program enough to develop these guys' skills. And it's kind of, I mean, the same run of the road for the Trailblazers are as the Sixers are. As we've run now X amount of years with the Ben Simmons Embiid duo. How many years have the Blazers trotted out the CJ McCollum Dame Lillard duo, and where has it got them? They got them what? They made a conference final? No, yeah, I believe they made it and
One
played the
conference
Warriors and
finals
got swept.
appearance and were swept. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that was really their ceiling. So I mean, yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, yeah. What if you're the Blazers? What is it? Does Ben Simmons get you any farther, or is it can your program push him farther? Can you get him? Can you get him a change of scenery? Put him up there, and
Does Damian Lillard want to be in Portland if they trade CJ for Ben? Like, I don't think so, honestly.
no,
CJ's his guy. That's his running mate.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'm not inside the mind of Damian Lillard. I mean, I don't think he's there
Of course,
past
but
2 years anywhere. Like, I think it's inevitable that he will. He's a loyalty guy, but I mean, everybody breaks on the loyalty thing. Like, that's eventually going to run out of the sand in the hourglass is going to run out on that. So it's like, I mean, maybe they present him as this is kind of our last ditch. Like, we see where we're going, we see where we're heading anyway. Is let's try this out. We've tried CJ McCollum and you for years now. Let's bring this guy in. Hopefully we can revitalize him. But yeah, I don't know. They're an interesting spot. I mean, there's a couple other ones. The Bulls have Levine if they ever wanted to move off. I don't know what the Bulls are doing. I mean, they're what another lottery year anyway. Like they got Vucevic and they're still in the lottery.
they got Vucevic late in the year, to be fair. But yeah, they're still in the lottery. And also, they're in the lottery in a year which you could make a play in as a 10th seed, and they still weren't able to do that. So
Exactly. So I mean, Zach Levine could be there. I mean, I'm more interested, as I've said a lot, is the Sixers letting Tyrese Maxey kind of take the reign as the point guard, and not exactly like going out and getting a true point guard, but getting a two guard that's more of that scorer. He's a good ball handler, like CJ McCollum, Zach Levine. They're ball handlers. They can do the same stuff. But I want to see Tyrese Maxey get his shot because I feel like he got valuable reps, although we were eliminated and the season was a failure. I think for Tyrese Maxey alone, just getting those minutes in big crunch time because Ben Simmons couldn't be on the floor, it kind of groomed him. So I mean, going forward, I would like to see the Sixers give him his due because I think we got a steal when we picked him 21st last year. Like I think he's a legit talent if you push him enough, get him the reps, and kind of give him the reins and let him do his thing. As he showed a little bit in the series, he definitely showed his inexperience as a rookie. But I mean, he's a rookie in a big playoff series as your team is kind of sinking and they're kind of just throwing everything on your shoulders for your max player.
oh, I agree. And I was thinking about that watching Tyrese Maxey play and Ben Simmons on the bench. I was like, man, the Sixers would be like luck out if is it really that simple that they could maybe just trade Ben Simmons, get a shooting guard, and then like develop Maxey. Like in a perfect world, it's that simple, but we'll see. And I do think that's the recipe. Like if you can land CJ or someone with that confidence and has that shot, you put him with Embiid, you get Seth Curry going still, and Maxey can develop, then yeah, I mean, you might lose something defensively, but like that's not where they were struggling. They needed more offense, and then someone that they could go to outside of Joel, which
Exactly.
brings me back. Like I feel like the person that's not getting spoken about in this conversation that we need more from is Tobias Harris. He got his big contract. It's not like he was terrible. One of the games he was terrible, but like he did show up mostly for his 20 points. But it's like I don't know, big time playoff series. Your team's dwindling. Ben Simmons isn't giving you anything. Joel can only do so much. Like Tobias, like you needed more Tobias Harris too.
Yeah. I mean, Tobias Harris really is. He's what Tobias Harris is. It's kind of this NBA, right? Where you see a lot of guys who probably shouldn't get a contract like that, but it's like there's another team out there that will give him that money. There's enough Magics and Charlotte Bobcats or Charlotte Hornets and enough Houston Rockets and Pistons where they'll just spend the money just to spend it. Hey, we got a guy to come sell us some tickets to kind of force the hand of the Sixers. I mean, you can go even farther back to when the Jimmy Butler. I'm not going to go that far back, but that's kind of when the Sixers' troubles began. But yeah, I mean, Tobias Harris, it's fair. I watched Tobias Harris. He annoys the hell out of me. Definitely, probably him and Ben Simmons. They hit that three-headed dragon of Doc Rivers, Ben Simmons, and Tobias Harris drives me absolutely insane. So but I mean, yeah,
And that's rough.
Tobias has to step it up. I mean, Tobias isn't going anywhere. So He's going to
You
be
made a good point with the contract. He's probably not that player to where you would like. He's a good player. He's giving you 20 and 5, but he's not that dude where I'm talking about that. What we need from him to step up. But like with the contracts now, his contract says he's that type of player, but he's not that. He's not that dude.
yeah, no, yeah. Tobias Harris is yeah, he's not that guy. And yeah, the Sixers, I mean, it's a long off season in Philly. It's just getting started. And there's going to be a lot of critical decisions for Daryl Morey to make. I mean, he's got some crazy stuff. So it's like I kind of trust Daryl Morey to do something wild, but I just got to sit back and see what we're going to do. Like, see, are we going to move Ben? Are we going to put him in this fictitious shooting program and let him shoot with his right hand and pray that fixes it? Like, I don't think, because then you run into a case where it's like, if he comes back, do you piss Joel Embiid off and Joel Embiid say, "Hey, I don't want to play with this guy anymore. Get me out of here." So it's like they're walking a tightrope. This is a crucial offseason that could define the next 5 to 10 years of Sixers basketball if they do not pull the right triggers.
Yeah, I agree, and I think number one priority is making Embiid happy. Like that's your guy. And Daryl Morey, he managed to get Al Horford off that team and add Seth Curry and Danny Green and get him some shooters because it looked real bleak last offseason, just to be fair. It did. And they got much better. This one is more of a disappointing result. Like last year, like they got hurt and it was Horford and them, and you didn't expect much. This year was the opposite. But like if he was able to get that Horford contract off and rework the roster, I'm sure he can do something with a trade piece like Ben Simmons. So it'll be interesting to see.
That's for sure. But I mean, to wrap that up, yeah, I mean, I could talk Sixers disaster for hours, but we're not gonna sit and do that. We got another sort of disaster out west, I would say, with a little less. I mean, they had some health issues, but obviously, as we saw over the last week, the Jazz lost 4 straight games to the Clippers, 2 with Kawhi Leonard in LA, and then Kawhi Leonard partially tore the ACL. I think that's what I actually saw it was. It's not a full, it's a knee sprain. Much the same thing. He partially tore the ACL, so he's rehabbing. Didn't play in the last 2. Paul George, Terrence Mann, and Reggie Jackson kind of turn the clock back or maybe turn the clock forward and propel that team to steal 2 more games without Kawhi Leonard to send them to the Western Conference Finals. You were the Jazz guy. Obviously, everything we said in that first episode went so drastically downhill within 6 hours. So I'm going to give you the floor for the Utah Jazz and what happened to them guys.
So right off the bat, let's go ahead and I'm a big fan of giving credit. Let's give credit to Ty Lue, having the Clippers ready to go. Paul George, he's definitely no longer a pandemic P. We got to show that man some respect. Playoff P showed up and showed out, and then he got some help from Terrence Mann. So Terrence Mann, 39 points, good for him, young player. Obviously, a lot of potential. He's able to do things like that, but sticking to the main topic, the Utah Jazz, which they thoroughly disappointed me. I mean, not to make excuses, Donovan Mitchell wasn't 100%, but like if he can go out there and give you 39, 7 and 7 in a closeout game, even with a bum ankle, like he's not the problem. Like that's clearly enough. It's This team is also in a tough position. I thought they were going to not only beat the Clippers in 6, they were going to go to the finals completely. I was all in on the Jazz. I like Donovan Mitchell a lot, but they showed me that they don't have what it takes to get it done quite yet. And Rudy Gobert is the interesting piece of the puzzle. You got a 3-time defensive player of the year. So it's like you have to play him. He's got a huge contract, but he's getting playing off the court. Like when you go to small ball lineup, he can't close out. Terrence Mann scored 39 points because he was taking practice shot threes in the corner wide open because Rudy doesn't have the footwork to close out on that. And then it's like you can't really go small because once Rudy's out of the game, they just attack the paint like crazy. And to be fair to Reggie Jackson, he was able to attack the paint with Rudy in the game. So it's like, where do you really go? Especially, I'm looking at Rudy Gobert's contract starting the following year, his cap hits, and these are going to increase each year from 2021 through 2026 or 2025. 35 mil to 38 to 41 to 43 to 46 and a half. You can't be paying a guy 35 to 45 million dollars for him to not be usable in a closeout game. And this is a Clippers team without Kawhi Leonard. There's really no excuses. The Jazz kind of folded in on themselves. They showed so when you watch playoff basketball, teams have more time to prepare and study for each other. So you need more tools in the arsenal. The Clippers have the ability to go small, or they have the ability to play Zubac and play big. The Jazz don't have that tool. The Jazz, the way they got to the 1 seed and the way they got to this point in the season where they were, they thought we're gonna do what we do. We're gonna play Jazz basketball and we're just gonna do it better than whatever they're doing. And that worked up to a certain point. But when you get to the playoffs and it's about minor adjustments and you've seen a team 4 games in a row now and they know what you're gonna do, you have to be able to adjust. It's not as simple as like we're just gonna do it better because they lost so game 5 in Utah. The opening quarter they scored like 37 or 38 points and it was like a 1 point lead. Bogdanovich scored like 30 something, similar to the Seth Curry game. Bogdanovich had like 36. I think he was 6 for 3 in the first quarter, 18 points, and yet they still lose the game at home to the Kawhi Leonard-less Clippers. That's tough. I don't know what they do, and I don't know how you get off Rudy Gobert's contract or if they even want to, but like they need another big or a way or someone that can play the 5 so they can match and play small. But it's just hard when you have a 3-time defensive player of the year and you got to take him off the court. It's like I don't know what you do. What do you do with Rudy?
Yeah, they're in a bad spot. I mean, it was already pretty much going back to last year when the whole pandemic thing happened. It was already a rocky relationship with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert to begin with. And then it seemed like, hey, this team's rolling. They kind of put it back together. They definitely put it back together. I mean, they were the best team in basketball, I would say. They were consistent. They played defense. They shot the hell out of the ball, and they had everything rolling. And then, as you said, yeah, when it comes down to the playoffs, and when there's a coach that just focuses on you, when there's an entire staff that just focuses on one opponent for a 7-game series, they will find holes in your game. And yeah, we clearly saw it. I mean, Rudy Gobert couldn't stretch out to the wing in the small ball lineup with Terrence Mann, and Ty Lue saw that. And I mean, credit to it, it's like kind of your Quinn Snyder. It's like, shit, if Terrence Mann's gonna score 40 points and we're gonna go down like that, it's like you're kind of like, all right, just tip your cap, right? Terrence Mann had the game of his life because, as you saw, I believe in the was it the closeout? Yeah, the closeout game. He
It
was
was a
not near.
closeout game.
Was where he went off.
I believe so.
Yeah. I swear it was the one in Utah where he went off. I could be wrong, but because I know he stepped back. I don't think he was as good in the closeout. Maybe he was. I don't know. It's how much Utah or Western Conference. When my team implodes, I kind of start focusing on them. As I said, I'm a Sixers fan, but
It
yeah.
was the closeout game. Game 6 is the one Terrence Mann had 39.
Okay, so yeah, so it was game 5 where he wasn't the same. Where they got lucky, right? They kind of got that where he's not going to do that. But I mean, yeah, if Terrence Mann's going to shoot like that, you kind of just tip your cap. But yeah, I mean, Rudy Gobert, we saw his weakness. It's kind of he's weird on offense because he has a limited skill set on the offensive end as well, right? He's a great defender, but he's not your what you would consider your modern big, right? He's not a guy like DeAndre Ayton who can step out and he's going to hit you mid-range jumpers. He's not Anthony Davis who steps out, even though he plays power forward / center, steps out and hits jump shots. Joel Embiid is out and hits jump shots. Who else? Nikola Jokic. Like those guys are.
Even
That's
Carl Anthony Towns has a jumper, man.
exactly, yeah. All these guys, these are the modern bigs, and you look at they're kind of they can extend out too. They don't. I can't get that Quinn Snyder was that worried about if Rudy Gobert has to step out and defend a jump shot that our team as a whole can't collapse, box out, and grab a rebound. It's another series where it just seemed it was weird. Is like the Clippers started wanting it more, and then they got that momentum. Reggie Jackson started doing his thing. Obviously, Paul George, respect to that man. That man kind of cleared his name from a pandemic fee, playoff fee. All the memes are kind of gone because when Kawhi Leonard goes out, you say nail in the coffin. We said a week ago this series is done. 6 games. I was nice. I said the Clippers, they won't go out at home. They'll find a way to get one more win and just lose in Utah. But yeah, those guys, it was the same thing we saw in the Sixers series is the hungrier dog eventually figured out a way. And then shout out to Ty Lue too, because I kind of slandered Ty Lue quite a bit. I said Ty Lue, he's only around because he got gifted a ring from LeBron, right? And that's
I
kind of
think that's the consensus thought, and he's shown everybody otherwise now. Like, I don't
yeah.
think that's
Up
fair to
until that
say
moment,
anymore.
yeah. And my man Quinn Snyder looks stressed on that bench when they were telling him chew that gum and like kick his hair, man. Like that man was chewing gum like a maniac. So, and I thought Quinn Snyder's a great coach, but I guess he got finessed. I don't know. The Jazz just stopped playing defense too. It was weird. Like the Jazz had great defense all year, and then they kind of they're like, all right, we'll just shoot enough threes, right? We'll just hit enough threes, and the Clippers aren't going to hit any threes, and they
It
did.
did feel like they were trying to just outshoot him at the end.
Yeah, it was weird, and I mean, they became stagnant, and then eventually, obviously, Donovan Mitchell wasn't the same down the stretch. I think he rolled up on his ankle one of the games, game five was it? I think towards the end, maybe it was. I want to say it was where towards the end, yeah, because close game, he got rolled up on a little bit, and obviously he was coming in with the ankle injury to begin with, and then Mike Conley came back. I don't know. It's kind of that's a similar situation to a guy that hasn't played basketball in a week or two, getting thrusted into the playoffs. But
In an elimination game, like he's a vet, but that's a tough task. That's hard to do.
yeah, it's a lot to ask. But I mean, as I said, I mean, I think if you're the Jazz, you've got to try to somehow move off of Gobert. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is going to be your guy unless you're absolutely insane or Donovan Mitchell asks out, then you would
You
move.
got to do whatever it takes to keep Mitchell happy. Because like I, I'm clearly a little biased. I'm a big Donovan Mitchell fan, but that guy's got it. I firmly believe he could be a number one on a championship team, and I don't think he's in his prime yet. And he's dropping ridiculous numbers and crazy playoff performances. So it's like he's clutch and he doesn't back down. I remember as a rookie, it was Paul George and Russell in OKC. He won that series and closed them out, clutch basket after clutch basket. So it's like just like if you're the Sixers with Embiid, the Jazz got to do whatever it takes to keep Mitchell happy. And like, I don't know, what team do you think's in a worse position? What team would you rather be, like the Sixers or the Jazz?
Um, I mean, if I'm being honest and not being a biased fan, I think I'd rather be the Sixers. But I think the pieces that you're attempting to move, Ben Simmons has more value than Rudy Gobert. You'll get a better deal from moving a Ben Simmons than you would for Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert, I mean, you're gonna have to attach multiple picks just to try to fetch anything and find a team that can match the money. And I just don't think. I mean, I haven't even ran the trade machine. I don't even think I've seen them online or on Twitter. I imagine somebody's done it, but I don't even know what a Rudy Gobert trade would look like.
I would agree. I'd rather be the Sixers. The Rudy trade's much harder to pull off. Ben Simmons is more valuable. Um, but I don't think we see the Rudy trade for another season, maybe two. But that's either coming or Donovan Mitchell's going to get frustrated and one out. I think those, or they win the championship. That's the third option, but I don't see that happening, especially with like the West getting healthy again next year and a lot of players being back. So Jazz and Sixers had really good opportunities this season with all the injuries, and it's just unfortunate that's their seasons played out this way.
Yeah, I mean, they each shot themselves in the foot. It's not really. They both it was self-inflicted damage and I guess bad coaching you could call it. I wouldn't didn't really expect bad coaching out of Quinn Snyder because he's always been good. I've always liked Quinn Snyder. But I mean, yeah, the future, both of those franchises, they're in a weird spot. They got to figure out what to do and what to do fast because they both have stars that they ultimately have to choose and they ultimately have to keep happy because it's a player movement era. So you piss those guys off, you'll have nobody and everybody will be gone.
Oh yeah, and I could see either of those teams figuring it out and going like running the table next year or collapsing like same thing again. So I don't know. It's gonna be fun to watch though. I'm definitely interested.
For sure. So I mean, now that we've kind of touched base with all that, we will jump into a little conference finals action. I mean, let's flip it back. We've been going east west, east west. Let's throw it back to the east. This is definitely the People's Conference Final. This is the one that everybody predicted. I mean, I know I did. I had this one pretty much nailed down since the season began. We got the Atlanta Hawks against the three seed Milwaukee Bucks who have home court. Home court is a three seed in the conference finals, which is that's a hell of a task. Obviously, It's kind of going to be tough task for the Hawks. But I mean, as I said earlier today, as we were at work, it's like the Hawks feel like a team that we count them out, right? Like everybody says, yeah, the Bucks are going to the finals. Like the Bucks might win the championship, and it's like the Hawks are like, hold up, like we're these dudes that we don't give a damn who you think's going to win the championship. We don't even care if we're down 25 points. We'll find a way to rally back and never give up. And credit to Nate McMillan, who kind of keeps those guys going, and he has good tools to work with as well. He's made the right lineup adjustments. The offense is definitely working from when Lloyd Pierce was there. But so we got Bucks, Hawks. I guess who do you like? How many games? And what do you see coming from this series?
I think this is going to be a fun series to watch. I think it's actually going to be competitive and like pretty entertaining. I do think the Bucks are going to win. Like they're a much better basketball team, and now they're tested. Like, yeah, the Nets team wasn't 100%, but you're still going. If Kevin Durant's on the court, that's a challenge. As we saw, he was like, I don't know, foot barely stepped on the line from stealing the series anyway. So like, the Bucks are tested. I think they're going to definitely go to the finals. But the Hawks, you got to give them respect. They earned this. I think they win 2 games. I think the Bucks advance in 6. But the matchup is interesting. They played 3 times in the regular season, and Trey only played in one of them. That's kind of interesting. I think
What is
if
the season series at? Bucks swept them.
Hawks won 1,
Hawks won 1. Okay.
but I think the Bucks do win in 6. Giannis does what he does, but I think what's going to be interesting to see is how many minutes Brook Lopez plays. Because if Brook Lopez is on the court, then Trey Young and the young Capella pick and roll and him going in for a floater or an oop is going to be there over and over again. And those are easy buckets. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Bucks adjust. And I'm really curious to see what Mike Budenholzer does and to see how many minutes Brook Lopez plays.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Yeah, right. Brook Lopez, I mean, that's got to be the first thing Nate McMillan's salivating at when he sees this series. He says, how many times can we throw Brook Lopez into the high pick and roll and make him do something? Either make him make the switch, force the switch, and throw him on Trey Young and say, let's dance. Or, yeah, the lobs. The lobs are nasty. I can't stand John Collins. The guy's a little annoying for what he does and what his worth is. But yeah, the high screen rolls with him is deadly. Obviously, Capella, that's his only offensive game. All he can do is catch lobs or putbacks. So I mean, with that, yeah, they could very well force Brook Lopez off the court, and then it's like the question is Mike Budenholzer, can he adjust? Say this happens, can he adjust? Because Mike Budenholzer, he's suspect coach too. We've seen that guy. He was so ready to get fired. I bet you he said so bad, come on guys, just lose this game 7 so I can get fired, so I can go do something else. Because we've seen time and time again, like Budenholzer just let you down. And it's like this Hawks team, Budenholzer, ex-Hawks coach, yeah. So it's like, obviously not the same guys, but it's like a franchise that knows this guy, and they're like, can we stick it to this guy? Can we come out? I agree with you. I like Bucks. I'd say Bucks in 6 as well. I like the Hawks' grittiness, and I feel like they'll definitely be able to take a game on their home floor. And I feel like they could take a game in Milwaukee as well. But yeah, Giannis should do his thing. I don't really see anything that would stop him from doing his thing. They just got to try to get him out and get him out run.
They don't have anyone that can defend him.
Nope. It's like, yeah, he's a bad matchup for any of those guys. I mean, it's not going to be as simple as the Tobias Harris where you can throw a Gallinari on him. He will get eaten alive if you throw him on Giannis. But then it's like you need the guys like Middleton, Drew Holiday to keep showing up, keep firing at all cylinders. And then who else? I don't even know how deep their rotation is. With no DiVincenzo, they got Bryn Forbes. He plays, I'd assume.
Yeah, the DiVincenzo thing is tough. I was gonna say if they do go small, though, they have the ability to put Giannis at the 5 or PJ Tucker at the 5.
Forgot about PJ Tucker. Okay, yeah, so they could easily.
There's even Bobby Portis as well. He kind of fell out of the rotation, but Bobby can play 15 minutes.
Yeah, Bobby can come in and do some fouls. That's probably what you tell him. Yeah, come on in, get your 3 fouls, and then
the DeMarcus Cousins role now.
Yeah, you come in, get your quick fouls, and Yeah, but I mean, I like that option if you're the Bucks is probably go small because I mean you have versatile enough players. PJ Tucker's versatile, Middleton's versatile. Your whole lineup's pretty versatile. And then obviously with Giannis at the 5, that's perfect. He's still going to be the best rebounder on the floor. You're still going to have you're not going to lose the rebounding advantage, right? Like Giannis is, he's that dude. And
Oh, Giannis can give you 15 rebounds a game, like
oh,
easily.
oh, easily, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, that would be the if I'm the Bucks, that's the lineup I'm going with. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think you'll see maybe 15 minutes a night out of Brook Lopez in the series. I think he will get some run, but then he's going to eventually get their closing lineup is going to have to be a small ball lineup, or they would just get eaten alive. Like that pick and roll will tear Brook Lopez to shreds.
Yeah,
And
you can't hand this Hawks team easy buckets. Like they
they
can
got
shoot
so
the
many
ball too
shooters.
well.
Yeah, they have so many shooters, and then Capella and Collins they can grab boards. So it's like they're definitely, I guess, I mean they're maybe equally as versatile. I don't know. Like I like Capella and Collins. They're pretty versatile big men compared to
The Sorry, compared to what?
no, just compared to a guy like Brook Lopez. Like they can do.
I was just gonna say the Bogdanovich knee thing scares me.
Yeah,
Like they need a healthy Bogdanovich to have a chance in this series, and he didn't look healthy at the end of the Sixers series.
that is facts. He is, yeah. I mean, he's probably not going to be 100%. He couldn't even finish the series. I don't think he didn't finish. He was not on the floor at the end of Game 7. I don't believe in the Philly series, and then obviously in Game 6 he was yanked early as well with the knee issue. So I'd imagine he's not going to be 100%. Right, like he's not going to be that guy. And you're right; they need everybody to fire at all cylinders. Like they're at a tall task. They're not facing the Doc Rivers Sixers, right? Budenholzer, but it's not. I'll trust Giannis over dudes like Ben Simmons. I'll take Giannis and Middleton and those dudes and Drew Holiday.
Bucks team have been tested not only with the Nets, but their early exit last year with the Heat as well, and they exercised their demons against them as they swept them in the first round this year. So this Bucks team feels like they're ready to go. They've had their playoff losses before. They got their two-time MVP. It feels like this might be the time to break through.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they're the guys. I mean, that's all I have on the Eastern final preview. I think Bucks and 6. You said Bucks and 6 as well. We're kind of tipping our caps to the Hawks, but we're saying that it's inevitably going to come to an end, and it'll be interesting to see where the Hawks go. This is great experience for that young group of guys, and it'd be one hell of an upset if they find a way to pull this off and go to the finals. It'd be like this would be typical for this year. I mean, this year's been pretty crazy to begin with these Final Four teams.
If they go to the finals, I'll be rooting for them because that would be a great story.
That's facts. Even though they eliminated us, I feel like I would ultimately have to root for them because it's just like, yeah, they're wild. But I mean, now we'll jump over Western Conference Finals. They've already played a game. We saw that the Suns took a 1-0 lead. They defended their home courts to open the series. Devin Booker, 35 point. It was either 35 or 36, somewhere around there. Triple double. I mean, he did what he had to do in game 1, right? No Chris Paul. COVID
40 points.
protocols. Yeah, COVID protocols. He's out. He missed game 1. He's already ruled out for game 2. Obviously, on the Clippers side, Kawhi's not playing. He's already been ruled out for game 2 as well. So we're sitting at 1-0 Suns, and I mean, we're kind of at the point where I mean, the Suns just look like they have more, right? It's like the Clippers, they did their thing, they came back on the Jazz, but it's like that miracle stuff eventually runs out. And it's like it really was a miracle. Like Reggie Jackson had to do all that. Terrence Mann had to do all that. Paul George is still going to get his. Like Paul George is that guy. He's a star. He'll do his thing. But it's like those role guys around him. They're eventually going to run out of enough. And eventually, I mean, I think Game 3, Chris Paul will be back. Sorry, voice kind of going there. I think Game 3, Chris Paul will come back. And yeah, I mean, I think Suns. I'll be nice to the Clippers. I think it'll be Suns in 5. I think the Clippers. They'll find a way to muster up a game in LA. They'll yeah, I've said it in the last podcast. It seems like the home teams, the role guys show up. I mean, you look at this besides for the Sixers, let's not talk about them, but usually the role guys show up in these home games. So I think the Clippers, they'll be able to take one at home, but I mean, I just don't think they have enough. The Suns, they look like that team when they get Chris Paul back. they'll have somebody to run that offense who they can trust, veteran Hall of Fame point guard. And I just think the Clippers, they'll run out of options. I like that the depth, as I said before, CP3 lead the Suns to the finals. And my bold take of the last one, obviously it's weird because he's not there to start this series and will not play in the first two games, but he's going to help close the series out eventually. So what do you got over there? What do you see?
Yeah, so this conference finals feels like a big mismatch, honestly, just because the Clippers aren't healthy. I feel like if Kawhi Leonard was there, we're looking at a 7 game series. Maybe the Clippers even win. But without Kawhi Leonard and even without Chris Paul, the Suns still got it done. Booker was incredible, but without Kawhi Leonard, I don't see the Clippers really winning more than 1 game, two max. Like I don't see how this series goes more than 6 games. Like the Suns are the real deal. They're here to play. You saw it against the Nuggets. Granted, the Nuggets are a beat up team too, but like they didn't take it easy. They swept them. They didn't give them anything. So like I could see the Clippers getting swept, especially if they go down 0-2 and all of a sudden Chris Paul comes back for the LA games. It's like you already had. Like I know you're going to be at home. You get your home court back, but you add Chris Paul to the mix. That's going to be really hard to overcome. The Clippers, they did a great job. They made it this far. It's just really unfortunate that Kawhi Leonard got hurt. Otherwise, we're kind of getting robbed as basketball fans of us. I think it would have been a great 7 game series, but I really don't see how the Clippers can steal this series at all. I could see how they steal a game, maybe two. I don't see how they beat this Suns team 4 times. I have no idea how they would be able to do it. If Terrence Mann can score 39 points a game, then sure. But like, I think he followed his 39 point performance up with 9 points, which sounds like he came back down to earth. So I don't know. Paul George was good. He gave you 30 plus. Like I don't know what else you can really expect out of him. The Clippers are just really mismatched. Ty Lue's going to have those guys ready to go. They're going to play well, but Monty Williams always has his Suns teams ready to go, and like I think that's a big thing. So you got Ayton and Booker. Chris Paul will come back, but Crowder and Bridges, and then Cameron Payne playing backup minutes. Cameron Payne's been great, so it's like this team's really firing on all cylinders. It's like it's going to be hard for them to lose. I don't see the Clippers winning 4 games. I don't see how it can happen.
No, no shot in hell, I don't think, unless the Suns all of a sudden they don't want to play defense anymore and they want to get into a Western shootout and see who can hit more threes. But yeah, I mean, as I said, the Suns just have more. I like that group when you have Booker, Ayton, Bridges, Payne off the bench, Cam Johnson gets some minutes, and then I considered going into this series, I said if the Clippers are going to have a shot, it's almost like game one is a must win. Like they have to win that game. Like they have to do something to throw the Suns off their edge and kind of get the Suns to start doubting themselves and to roll in to Phoenix in a game one and steal that game would have been so huge because it's like the Suns have to go back and think, damn, can we do this without Chris Paul? You start putting doubt in those young guys, right? Devin Booker, his first time ever being there. Like Paul George has been around the block a little bit. Marcus Morris has been around the block. Reggie Jackson's played quite a bit of basketball. So it's
Rondo.
like, yeah, Rondo's been there. Ty Lue's been in a final. So it's like the experience side in this playoff thing. If the Clippers could have taken game one and you get the Suns to doubt themselves, then it's like, then it gets interesting. But then obviously back to reality, the Suns hold the court. Didn't look as sloppy. I felt they would look sloppy as hell without CP3 there. I kind of felt, hey, they'll kind of look out of sorts, and the Clippers will they'll have a shot to capitalize, but it kind of never happened. The Suns did their thing, and then as you said, with Chris Paul only looming coming back, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a sweep. I mean, I wouldn't. I said 5, just being nice to Paul George and those Clippers guys, and Ty Lue, thinking they'll be able to adjust. But yeah, it's a lot different for a guy like Terrence Mann when you don't have the center just standing in the paint. Trying to guard you, you got actual guys that are going to close out and play defense. And the Suns have a lot of tools going into what it looks like a finals run.
Yeah, and I like that confidence point you brought up because it works the other way too. So like if the Clippers were going in to come steal it, kind of mess with their confidence, but no, now the confidence is sky high because they know they can win, and they know they can win without Chris Paul. So they feel like they probably feel unbeatable once he suits up for them. So it's like confidence is skyrocketing. Devin Booker's that guy. He's special, and it's just I don't see the Suns losing.
Exactly. So we both see eye to eye. There's no disagreement.
Plus,
Um,
as NBA fans, we deserve a Suns Bucks final because that's going to be the most exciting one by far.
yeah, well, definitely we'll see how this develops over the next week, but I mean that looks what we're headed towards. It'd be kind of weird if that wasn't the matchup, but then again, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I
It's
think
been a
the
crazy
Suns.
season.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Suns are a shoo-in. It's just let's see what happens in the East. Like can the East get crazy? Can it give us something that we didn't expect? And yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I mean, that's pretty much all we got for basketball. I mean, we're kind of in wait and see mode. We're kind of see what these teams, see what rumors come out in the off season, see what and see how these games ultimately play out when the Eastern Finals gets going. I believe tomorrow night, game one.
The
And
East will be Wednesday, and tomorrow night will be Game 2 of the West.
damn, so Wednesday night they're giving 2 days in between. That's crazy. I thought the NBA would try to get them. That's weird. So yeah, I was wrong. Wednesday night we get to see. I'm interested to watch that. I'm not really. I mean, I'll watch the West, but I'm not that like locked in. I want to see Atlanta Hawks, Milwaukee Bucks Wednesday night. Let's see what Giannis can do in the conference finals against Trey Young. I expect Trey Young to do his thing. But I mean, that's it there. We're going to skip over the NFL stuff. Nothing really happened in the NFL that's worth discussing. It's kind of quiet. Training camps are going, holdouts, whatever. I haven't really heard any big name holdouts that we didn't talk about last time around. So we're kind of wait and see. I mean, we get into that fall months though. There will be a lot of football talked about on here, but we'll throw it back to golf. It's weird, but we just finished up the U.S. Open, wrapped up Sunday. Jon Rahm captures his first ever major U.S. Open champion after having to withdraw from the Memorial Tournament just 2 weeks ago due to COVID. That was weird. The guy's up 6 shots and has to withdraw. And it's kind of like he showed up, I think, Tuesday. So he got there Tuesday and just kind of battled his way through it and found a way. I mean, it was a weird tournament overall. I mean, when you looked at, there was guys like, I think Russell Henley, there was a Richard Bland, who was like a 40-year-old Englishman who kind of battled, and then he dwindled once it got to Saturday. Everybody kind of figured he's going to run out of steam because there's always guys in these majors that seem to play above their level for a day or two, and then it catches up. It's the U.S. Open. It's some people would say the biggest one of the biggest major. It's debatable depending on how you look at everything, but it's arguably the toughest layout for a major with the thick rough and the fast greens. And he kind of faded, and then we just saw Jon Rahm surge out of nowhere with the putt on 17. He hits a huge putt on 17, and then he's in prime position. He's at 5 under. Oosthuizen's at 5 under, I want to say, at the time as well. And it's like, so he has to score right. Get to the clubhouse 6 under. You put all the pressure on Oosthuizen to make a move, even though he has 5 holes. And then the second shot, I believe Rahm ripped it into a bunker, and then he splashes it out of the bunker. And then it's like, okay, so you got a wicked left to right putt. If you make this putt, you kind of throw all the pressure, as Oosthuizen's going to see the leaderboard and see Jon Rahm post a 6 under and get into the clubhouse. No, he has to score. And then Jon Rahm did just that, and it was amazing. It seemed like everybody said it was only a matter of time. Jon Rahm seems to play very well on the toughest layouts, the toughest of courses, the fastest greens, the thickest rough. Jon Rahm finds a way to ball, and it kind of continues that trend of the power guys that continue to succeed at the U.S. Open, where you had Bryson DeChambeau last year, Gary Woodland won it at Pebble Beach. Obviously, Brooks Koepka has 2 as well. Like these power hitters are finding a way to dominate the U.S. Open. And then you look at guys, the hometown guy, Xander Schauffele falls short 1 under. We're in a golf pool. I think we both used him this week. It was kind of lackluster. It's weird to say that he's at his floor. That's his U.S. Open floor. That's his worst finish ever at the U.S. Open, which is tied for 7th. That was
It was just disappointing because Sunday he gave you even golf, you know. So he was in position to do something.
Yeah, I mean, I watched for 3 days. I worked Sunday, sucked. I missed Sunday. I was following it all day though on my phone. But 3 days, yeah. I mean, Xander Schauffele kind of blew his chance. I think it was Friday. He missed a bunch of easy putts early. He was hitting darts, and everybody kind of favored him. He's the hometown guy. He's from San Diego. The U.S. Open, Torrey Pines is in San Diego. Everybody kind of figured, hey, is this the shot for Xander Schauffele, who's kind of like the Tony Finau of majors? Tony Finau loves to finish in the top five, get those second place finishes, and it's kind of like I've said it afterwards. It's like Xander Schauffele is really just this Tony Finau just major for him because he does this at Augusta every year, where he's always in the top. He's at least a shoe in for top 10, if not top five at Augusta. Then he shows up at the U.S. Open. His career, as I said, this is his worst finish at seventh. His previous was tied for sixth. I think he has a couple. He has a third place finish, so he's always up there. And disappointing. I mean, obviously we have the Bryson DeChambeau meltdown. Bryson DeChambeau makes the turn at 5 under. He's in the lead. He's in sole possession of the U.S. Open, and it's like Bryson DeChambeau is going to repeat. I said it myself when I saw it. I even think he was like he got into the minuses as far as the betting lines go. Like the books shoot him in. Bryson DeChambeau is not going to mess this up. He's going to win the U.S. Open, go back to back, and kind of he's going to have one to stick it to Brooks, right? Like in the middle of this rivalry, as Brooks finished, I think third, he finished at four. But then we watched the crumble. I mean, he shot an 8 over. I think it was 8 over on the back nine. It was some disaster.
Yeah, it was 8 over. So that was the most disappointing part. He was an absolute disaster meltdown. And for those of you that are wondering why I'm laughing, because that was one of my bold predictions. I went out on a limb and I said Bryson DeChambeau is going to go back to back. It's very rare. Brooks did it, and then I think before that it was like 30, 40 years since it happened. And going into the back nine, he was -2 on the round. He was -5 overall. Overall, looked like he had it, and then he just proceeds to shoot +8 on the last 9 holes, which is almost an impressive feat in itself. What an epic meltdown! It was just a full on collapse.
He really he unraveled, and it's kind of nobody saw it coming. It was weird, but he just has such a weird game. It's like he's very worried on the driver speed, how fast he hit the driver, how far can you hit the driver, and it's like the loophole in the game is the wedge game. His wedges, I watched him. Although I loved his demeanor because he played like crap Thursday and kind of scrambled his way back in. I think he finished that round. I forget what it was, to be honest. It was
Thursday was +2 at the end
yeah,
of the
so
day.
yeah, so he was like 4 or 5 over though in that round, and he scrambled his way back to get to two, and then it was like, okay, well, if you can go from two to even, you bring it back down, and you're starting to play yourself into the championship, and it's like usually where you see DeChambeau kind of get psyched out or get pissed off, and when he's pissed off, he just starts swinging super hard, and the ball goes wherever it wants to go because you're pissed and swinging hard. I mean, every casual golfer can say that they've dealt with that. When you get mad and you just swing the swing, and it kind of all falls off the rails. And then but he didn't do that early in the tournament. He kind of kept it together, found his way to get his birdies and get himself back into the championship and eventually at the top of the leaderboard. And then, yeah, the +8, I mean, Jesus, some OB balls, the chip that went flying like 30 yards right and long into the rough near the Michelob Ultra tent was like, okay, it's like, that's bad. Like that's casual golfer stuff. You don't see that out of a guy who's in contention to win the U.S. Open. So yeah, he kind of blew it that back nine. That surprised me. I'm assuming it surprised a lot of people. And then I mean, Louis Oosthuizen, he's a veteran, and he was now in position. He was in position at the PGA to kind of push Phil, even though he was a group ahead of Phil, I want to say. And all he had to do on 17 was not hit the ball left, right? Everybody saw Jon Rahm hit the ball right, and you're good, right? And you have a shot. And what's he do? I think he hit a cut anyway. It's like he didn't even pull the ball left, but he hit a cut and just started it too far left, and it never cut, and then it smashed off the hill, and that's OB. And he kind of, I mean, for lack of a better word, he kind of pissed away a shot to at least force a playoff with Jon Rahm and give himself a shot to win. It's like weird that Louis Oosthuizen is a staple of major golf now through two of the past two majors of him putting himself at the top. The tournament was, I mean, it was fun. It was a typical U.S. Open. I mean, I like that the scores were lower, right? You see it's actually a challenge. You don't see guys shooting 20 under you definitely see guys shoot 20 over, but you weren't seeing guys come out and shoot 20 under at the U.S. Open and dominate it. So it's always refreshing when you see the best players in the world get tested at a course like this to see who can put it all together. And I mean, I'm happy for Jon Rahm. He kind of got screwed at the Memorial, losing out on that, and he was going to coast to that. And then for him to put it all together and really, you saw how much it meant to him when he finally hit the putt on 18 to go into the clubhouse, that it really meant a lot. Because I mean, I could imagine the past 2 weeks it's been just sitting on him that he was that close to $1.6 million in a Memorial tournament win at Jack's Place to go to Torrey Pines. And I mean, I guess you would want the 1.6 to go with your 2.2, but I mean, if you're not going to get the 1.6, yeah, I guess you're happy with the 2.2 for sure. And a major championship, as Jon Rahm's always like weird, because it's like I could have seen him not winning one ever. I mean, he's a hell of a golfer, great golfer, but it's like I could have easily seen him not capturing one and just being one of the great golfers to not win a major. But now it's like the sky's the limit. It's like how many could Jon Rahm win? Can he put it together? He's always good at Augusta. He always battles there. Can he get a green jacket next year? When will he get that? So the sky's the limit for Jon Rahm. And I mean, next golf major, I mean, for big ones is the Open, the British Open's back. It was canceled last year due to COVID. And we'll kind of see that. I mean, we have the Travelers this weekend. I haven't even really looked as far as my pick. I know one thing I do know that I saw after watching is guys that usually play well at the U.S. Open. They're not really a worry that, hey, you usually worry, did a guy blow his load at the U.S. Open? Did he play so good at the U.S. Open that he's going to play like crap the next weekend? It seems like that doesn't happen. So that's about all I got to wrap up the U.S. Open. I don't know if you had any closing thoughts. It was fun.
No, it was fun. You basically covered it all. The sky's the limit for Rahm. It was cool to see him like break through and win a major, and it was a fun moment to watch. And I'm excited to see what else he can do. Like you said, to see if he can put it together and see if he can win a couple more.
Exactly. So I mean, we move forward. We'll definitely and we'll see how the PGA season keeps going. See if I can make a run, or either of us can make a run in this golf pool. I think I climbed up to 11th. I think you made a little bit of push up as well, somewhere near 21. I think you gained a couple slots even with the poor Schauffele showing. But I mean, so we got the golf action. We wrapped up NBA. It's heating up. It's heating up as we get closer to the July finals. It feels weird because usually the finals is just about the finals is already underway by now. We're almost wrapped up with the NBA finals.
Yeah, it'd be like ending right about now, June usually. So it's weird seeing it in July, but
it's weird. I like it. I mean, I guess one topic to close on, I think the NBA kind of whiffed of, I liked them opening the season on Christmas Day. Thought they kind of whiffed on that opportunity instead of, I think they said they're going back to the normal October start time. I kind of like that because this NBA basketball, I mean, as we said before, we're not big baseball guys, right? So I kind of like this NBA carrying us through into almost through the summer. It's like, it's refreshing and enjoyable. But I mean,
that's the best part for me. Like, I don't have to watch baseball that long because the NBA is going a little bit longer. So that part I do enjoy. And this year there's some Olympic basketball. So we got some big names signed up for the team. So we'll get a little more basketball. So that'll be fun.
that is true. Maybe we will talk some Olympics next time around, next week, or maybe even if we fit another one in this week. I didn't even think of that on the docket, is the Olympic commits, but there is some big names with that. So, I mean, we sit back, we got to watch what happens in these two conference finals, and it's just going to be an enjoyable time. I think we're in for a good Eastern Conference final, and then ultimately to jump into the finals and be able to preview that. I am very, very excited to talk about the NBA finals when that finally arrives. Any closing thoughts from you, my guy?
No, I don't think so. Excited for the finals. I think this is going to wrap it up. If you're still listening and you're rocking with us this long, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, from Alex, this is Brandon. We're gonna sign off here. It was episode 2 of the Take 3 podcast. It's always fun, and we can't wait to crank out episode 3, hopefully with some finals and matchups. Y'all have a good one.